Doug and I were talking about that with
Okay.
the spinning of it right now with everything coming from the east rather than the west.
Yeah.
Cause that was the thing, I was telling Doug, I've always
I would rather see.
looked at a
your
radar ever
screen
since I was a little
than
kid,
see
cause I used to be
us.
scared of
Don't you
storms.
think?
Yeah, I
I
think
pulled it up
I like
yesterday, cause
that,
it said it was
yeah.
gonna rain, and when you see it
It takes
coming the other way, it's like, oh.
I have an
That's not a good thing.
Get my screen on.
It's usually a 3 or 4 day thing too.
Yeah.
Well, about another minute, we'll get started. We'll start off with the introductions, so we'll be on, I guess it's called video, right?
Yeah, be on
Video.
YouTube.
We are live
on
now.
YouTube.
We're live now, or we're on recording.
Okay.
Of course, I guess live.
So we're ready
Yeah,
to go?
yes. Whenever you're ready.
Mike, okay.
I'm ready, yeah.
Let's call a meeting to order, May 6th, Drainage Board. For those who might be tuning in, we'll go around and, board members will introduce themselves and as well as our staff, and then we'll get started.
JD Neidlinger, Drainage Board member.
Bill Wimhoff, Drainage Board member.
Amy Foltz.
Doug Bauman, Commissioner.
Steve Bailey, Commissioner.
Mike Worthing, County Surveyor, and I'd like to welcome Amy for her first
Yeah, first
Drainage
meeting.
Board meeting
Welcome,
in
Amy.
charge.
Clayton Langridge, Office of the County Attorney.
Okay, with that being said, we'll officially call the meeting to order. And I guess the first item would be to review the minutes from our last meeting. I looked at them and
Yep.
I didn't see any corrections or additions. So anyone else?
Now, I so move we accept the minutes of the last meeting.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Okay, Mike, moving on to Miller Matthias Watershed.
Okay, we discussed this one last meeting, just as information. This is Salem Road and 400 South. 400 South shows up here underneath the homestead there. This is to reconstruct that bank on the Matthias Miller beside 400 South. This would be a project with the Highway Department. We have to straighten up that bank and riprap that. It's actually up to the edge of the road there now. It's getting real close. Amish and have rubbed that rail way over in the ditch already, leaning way over. So we will pay 50% of the cost out of the Drainage Board, 50% from Highway Department is our proposal. And all we can do is get an estimate here, because when we get out there, it's not, it depends on what it takes. I'm going off of $100 a foot that when we repaired the 000 on the upper Weber last year. And that's about what it costs to dip that out, to straighten the bank, to put riprap in there and place that. The Highway Department did 50% of that and we paid 50%. So the estimated cost on that, and this is a total estimate, $15,000 for 150 feet. Drainage Board costs then be $7,500.
That would come out of that system.
Come out of our system, yeah. We have $11,659 in there. So that would leave $4,159 if that is our final cost.
Is that system on for collection this year?
It's a good question.
I got this.
Looks like it's on.
It's on.
It's on, yeah, it's on. $7,572. So my number was right.
Mike, you have any questions or concerns about your portion on the highway?
Yeah, we've talked to Mike on that and agree with the 50%. Something that definitely needs to be done, so.
So
Paul, when we do that, you guys haul the riprap and you do a lot of that work yourselves, right?
Normally we end up hiring like on
Okay.
road, it ended up being Luganville that did the dip in.
Okay.
And we provided trucks hauling riprap to him.
Okay.
So how would you consider this? Is this an emergency repair or is it standard maintenance?
This one's probably a little closer to emergency because of how close it is to the road with that guardrail falling away. I think it's probably needs done sooner than later just because of the guardrail issue.
Okay. So Paul, you and Brad would decide what part of the budget would come out as far as highway is concerned, I guess.
Yeah, what we did the last time is we just went and put the stone on our stone budget and hauled the riprap that way. And it ended up equaling out pretty close between that and Ludenville, so it works out in the wash pretty good.
Mike, does the board need to take any action on this, or have we already perhaps?
We have not. It was just here for information last month, last meeting. I think it would probably be good to approve the plan if you'd like.
Yeah, okay, board, does anyone have any questions to Mike concerning the sharing cost here of this project?
Well, my only main concern is, and I realize it's an estimate, and once you get into this, you can't just stop. You gotta
We have to
fix it, okay? My concern is I just don't wanna see the system get drawn down to zero.
Yeah, well, it did, in the Upper Weber, we did that. We're in the hole on that because we didn't have enough money in there and we borrowed that from the General Drain Improvement Fund.
Correct.
Amy's just learning this whole process. And we have to pay that back, within 5 years, hopefully. We had that rate increase hearing for them to, raise the rate, the maintenance fee on the Upper Weber. That did not go into effect until our next year. You know, the rate increase happens a year later after the hearing or the next year. So that one's not been paid back yet. We actually just put more tile repair in that one, so she borrowed more out of the General Drain Improvement Fund to pay for tile repair in the Upper Weber. So, in my opinion, and that's what that's there for, the General Drain Improvement Fund, that we can use that for maintenance. It was an emergency repair, sorry.
We've done a couple of these and, I don't know if we've ever actually had a discussion on, like what the appropriate amount is for the drainage
To be, yeah,
funds to contribute.
okay.
It's a pretty small section of I don't know the size of the watershed, but it's a pretty significant amount. So I think we should maybe discuss a little bit, it's probably here in, this drainage law book on what we can use the money for, but, to be good stewards of the money, I think we need to have a discussion if 50% is appropriate for the drainage fund to contribute. I think when I think of drainage funds, I think of, clearing obstructions and getting rid of trees and things to keep water flowing. I don't really think of road repair. And, so what portion of this project is because of, erosion from the ditch versus what is, was caused by traffic. You mentioned buggies, doing some damage. I don't know. I just think the stewards of drainage funds, we should have a bit of a discussion instead of just rubber stamping every project 50%.
So this is a great discussion because the Habecker has the same situation in my next, line item, my next business, so. This one has 1,542 acres draining into that. And it's going into the Blue Creek, downstream about, what would it be, a quarter mile? So it's at
Quarter mile.
Yeah, or so, yeah, about a quarter mile. Blue Creek, it's flowing a lot of water there.
Follow up with your discussion, JD. I don't know what kind of a system we could use to determine, maybe based on acreage you might be alluding to, I'm not sure. But then probably every project would probably have to be looked at a little bit independently. I don't think we can put anything just in stone.
Right, yeah, and the past couple, we've just done 50%. I think that first project on 000 was the first, I was part of, and I think that was kind of, maybe agreed upon before we even voted on it, to just do 50% because it needed done. Like that was an emergency project, I think. But yeah, I think probably we need to look at them on an individual basis because, each watershed's a bit different.
Yeah.
But, I don't want to hold up progress, but I
Right.
think we need to be good stewards of this money.
Right, now do you feel that, let's just take this project, 50-50, 75 each. Do you think that we're kind of shortchanging the highway department or the drainage department? Cause
I think the drainage department might be contributing a bit more than what they should, but,
okay,
I wanted to bring up the discussion. I don't know that I have an answer, but I wanted to
Right.
hear what other board members had to say and maybe, open up to the highway department to comment as well, so.
Well, I guess I can start with the comments on that. It's you guys know, you've seen it before, the sides of the open ditches slipping off or sliding down into the bottom. And that's what's caused the erosion getting closer to the road. It's actually pulled the guardrail post out of the ground because there's so much erosion there. So, I mean, I don't want to seem like an argument or whatever, but you wouldn't have a problem with the road. It wouldn't be eroding away. So, I mean, from a highway standpoint, a 50/50 agreement on this is for the safety of our road. Nate's taking care of the guardrail out there off of his King Bridge, so he's actually taking a bigger hit on the guardrail than either one of us are for the erosion. And the next one that we're talking about is the same thing, the bank of the open ditch is slipping down into the bottom, which is causing that erosion to get closer and closer to that road. So now you're driving down this road, and instead of being 6 feet away from the open ditch before you have a problem, now you're 2 foot or less because that ditch keeps getting closer to the road. So, I mean, the partnership that we've had before with you guys doing that, I think has been great. I mean, it's going to need done anyway, regardless of what you guys decide. I mean, I like the 50/50 just due to, drainage board's ditch. It's our road that it coincides with. I think it seems fair from my perspective, but obviously I'm not sitting up there either.
But the thing of it is, I guess, no matter what the split is, no matter which project we're discussing, the length, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. When we look at the big picture, it's all taxpayers' dollars one way or the other, whether it's highway or drainage. So I don't have the right answer. Steve, I don't know if you have any comments.
I guess my only question is what, is this a long-term solution if we go in and do the work we're looking at doing? Or do we need to be thinking of a different long-term solution for these places where the ditch runs right along the road and ultimately erodes the road away? We had a short discussion about that at the last meeting about kind of how that's the easy way to run a ditch, but might not be the most effective way to run a ditch. And the landowner likes it because they don't give up a lot of farm ground and whatnot to a ditch that crosses across the middle of their field. But is this if we go to this solution, is this a 5-year solution, a 10-year solution, or is this a 50-year solution?
It'd be hard to say,
Okay.
just due to the weather and environment. I mean, if we continue to get high floods and dry summers and stuff like that, I would hate to predict the future. On this particular project, we actually approached the landowners to see if we could cut across their corner.
Right.
And they sit down kind of family
to go
meeting
here
about
to
it and
there.
decided against it. But, at least they entertained the idea.
Yeah.
That would be a solution if we wanted to pursue acquiring land there.
It's not unusual for ditches to run along roads.
No.
Especially as you get into Paulding County, Ohio, cause they're all man-made and they're like, everything's straight, It's nice to farm up there, like, you don't have ditches cutting through cause
Yeah.
it's all flat and old black swamp.
It was a black swamp when they drained that. That's
Yeah.
how they.
So it's not unusual. I'm like, yeah, do we need to move ditches further away? We need to do something different, stabilizing banks. I don't know.
So is there another funding mechanism that could be used on this? Is that something we can look at? I don't know.
The only thing I've given a lot of thought would be if a project comes up, this one was what, 1,500 feet? I thought it said-
150 feet.
Or, I'm sorry, 150 feet, $100 a foot. Okay. Maybe if the stretch is a quarter of a mile versus 150 feet, we might want to take a look at maybe the percent that comes from each entity.
Well, all I can tell you is that when I was county surveyor, we did relocate some ditches away from the county roads. And I'm talking almost 2,000, 1,500 feet that we relocated. when Kenny Singleton was county supervisor for roads, we relocated several of them because the cost of, and the landowners, and that's the other thing, the landowners agreed to this because they knew that something had to be done and we were losing the road too much. One was up, I think, on 1,000, up on 1,000 North, I think. So, 150 feet, I think you need to stabilize that. That's just my own personal opinion. If this was 1,500 feet, then I think this board needs to look at some other solution besides stabilizing everything along the road. You can do a temporary fix, but that's not gonna fix it in the long term. Because if you look at the weather pattern, we're on the upside, and I'm going back to the 1800s when they kept the weather patterns. We're on the upside we're getting more rains now. We're gonna hit that curve and it's gonna go back down the other way.
We're in increased rainfall and more
Yes.
frequency and increased amounts.
Right.
That's a proven fact. That's
Yeah.
not
Well,
Not the question.
maybe the short term, I don't know if there is a total solution to this thing. Maybe we need to take each project and evaluate it according to the circumstances. And discuss it that way. I don't know if you set a figure, set so many feet before you start thinking about relocating the ditch or what you do, but.
Well, and I agree with you, Doug. I think you need to take each of them, and I just don't want to see us set a fixed dollar amount from this board, because once they get into this, because I've been there, once you get into that, and all of a sudden you find out there's something undermining that ditch, and you get a big cavern or something like that, you can't just say, well, the money's spent, so let's just close the road. Can't do that. We gotta fix it.
Yeah.
One of the thoughts on relocating that ditch in this place is there are a lot of sand veins down here, that the guys have said. And if you go to cut that corner with a new ditch and run into one of them sand veins, you're getting to a lot of reconstruction. Get that sand out of there and make that solid.
Yeah.
Well, we've got two items on the agenda that we probably need to address today, and maybe Mike, as more of these stabilization projects come up, maybe we need to do a little more study.
Mhm.
But let's address the one we have in front of us today. I think the recommendation, at least it's not a recommendation. The facts that we have is that we've got this stabilization project being shared equally between drainage and highway, an approximation cost of $15,000 or $7,500 each. If for some reason it would exceed that, do we wanna, if we're gonna make a motion to go ahead with this one, do we need to make it a little bit variable on the cost in the event that it runs over a little bit? I don't know. So I'll let it up to the board to decide what direction we wanna go here.
I don't wanna see us drain the fund. I mean, I know we got a general drain improvement fund. I know what it's there for. I understand that. But I don't wanna make it a habit that we keep just borrowing from the general drain improvement fund, because then we're gonna run into problems.
Yeah, I agree. We do have an advantage on that right now because the interest from that general rate improvement is going back into the fund.
In the general drain fund or the
Yes.
maintenance
So
fund?
it's going back into the general drain improvement. Fund.
Okay,
That we did that last year. And, prior to that, the interest had been going back into the general fund
yeah, county general.
of the county. Yeah, so
Okay,
we are getting, don't quote me on that, whether that's 38,000 or something, if I remember right. Don't hold me to that interest number. But, and that depends on interest rates, how we invest them too.
I'll make a motion to go ahead and do 50% for the drainage board, cause it needs to be done, cause I know where you're at. I've been out that way, and if that isn't stabilized, you're gonna lose, you guys as commissioners are gonna lose the road.
Lose the road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, there's been a motion made to proceed as discussed. Katie seconds it. All those in favor of proceeding with the Miller Mathias stabilization? Aye.
Aye.
Motion's carried.
Very similar situation on your next item, is it, Mike?
Yes, Habecker. Let me get to that, come on.
How many feet is that off? So we be thinking.
That's what I'm pulling up here, so.
5 here.
So this is a
That's
a
just-
plan that I went out there and measured up. We have 162 feet in here that needs that whole section repaired. And we have a couple places that need riprap added on. Well, not more than a couple, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them that are basically just small sections, slumping in there. And a couple of them, we need a little bit more riprap up here. It's not critical yet. And there's a little brush there while we're down there. We don't need that brush. So 162 feet plus all these other ones. I am estimating that again. As $22,000 to repair that. You think I'm pretty close on that one? 22,000, so 11,000 would be a half on that one. We have $41,620 in that system right now. 41,620. Same deal here. This probably has a little less traffic on it, but a lot more Amish buggies. Would you agree with that? And that's basically, I think that's their route into Burn.
That's the route into Burn from the east, I think. It
From
just
the
goes
east.
Across there.
Mhm.
Typical feed trucks and semis run that, the farmers up that way, cut that way to get to the
and
Lincoln feed mill and that stuff.
and this is another deep ditch, another high flow ditch on.
Just to, on both of these projects, who's actually completing the work on it?
I assume the highway department has led that one, probably Luganville.
That's normally who does it first. He's definitely the most reasonable one for doing that.
Okay. So the cost we're talking about here covers installation and a contractor if hired too.
Yeah, the $100 a foot that Mike came up with was what it cost us was that last fall month? I don't know.
Yeah, the spring, well, a year, yeah, well, 2 years ago, actually, right now.
That's what it cost us at that point for him to do it, and we supplied the trucking and the riprap. So basically, that was a man and his excavator doing the work, and we supplied him with what he needed.
So we got a very similar situation, board. Any questions you want to ask Mike or how you feel about? I mean, it's almost identical to the first one, a few more feet.
This system has 4,366 acres in it, in the entire system. I didn't calculate how much going through there.
Basically like 1 year's collection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why this project.
Yeah, and you're. Yep. We're getting $10,231.15 in a collection.
I move to approve, bank stabilization for this project. 50% share with highway department.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion's carried. While we're still on this particular subject, is there, if something like this comes up again, do we want to give Mike an idea of how many feet he should consider? Like you mentioned, Bill, you relocated some that was a quarter mile. Do we want to consider a distance that we would want to take a look at investigating relocation of the open ditch?
I think there's a couple of things you have to take into consideration. Number one is I'd want to look at the soil map to see what type of soils that if we do relocate it, see whether or not there are any sand veins, especially in the area. Because that ditch may be where it's at because it has clay stabilization where the sand veins, you cannot, it's almost impossible to stabilize it. Not saying you can't, but it's very expensive.
Or muck ground?
Or mud ground. And so I think you need to look at the soil map, see what's going on before you look at relocating a ditch. Number two, I think you need to have cooperation of the landowners if you're going to do this. Because, you know, the county and the drainage board, mainly the county commissioners, have the power of eminent domain. You could say, we are going to do this. You have to compensate them for a fair price. But in my personal opinion, that's the last thing you want to do. You know?
So,
Um,
what's interesting in this Hobbaker is on the west of where we're working there is a cement wall off the road, between the road and the ditch, about halfway between it. That is, I don't know what this, 50 feet long, something like that. I assume that was a attempt to stabilize that road at one time. There's a cement wall put in there.
And that was common with the SCS office. A lot of times they would get cost share on that. And SCS would come in with the landowner,
Mhm.
even along the road.
So.
Well, maybe the best thing then is if something comes up that's got some major distance to it, Mike,
We should,
do some
Approach it.
homework.
yeah,
Yeah. Is that okay?
Like,
Yes, I like
I
that.
agree. Yep, that's
Okay.
easily done.
Okay, let's move on then to your fourth item, Mike.
The Blakey system, steel tile drain here, where this is 500 east and 900 north. Closer to 1,000 north there. The landowner, Ron Teamy, is looking at. We've done a lot of maintenance on that tile. And he wants to get plumbing in there to tile more in the field, to finish that field. He does a little bit every couple of years. He is willing to cost share here. This one has 2,120 acres in there, and we're collecting $5,479 a year. So he's looking at a $12,008 project there to replace that section of tile. We have 17,379 in that system, saying we're getting $5,480 a year in it. So 1 year's collection, 1.5 years collection be $8,218. That would be, and the landowner would share $9,161. So he'd be sharing a little more. What do you guys think of that? I have other figures here too. I was doing 1.5 years collection in it. That would leave us, money in that system yet of $9,061 in that system. At 1.5 years collection.
Figures he's rather serious about this project, or he would be willing to cost share $9,000.
Yeah, that's my suggestion, that I put in there, 1.5 years. And he's willing to do the 9,000, yeah. On it.
What's their board members think?
I personally, I don't have a problem with it, because if somebody's willing to put more than 50% into the cost of relocating a located tile, putting a new one in, I don't think we as a board can get it done cheaper than that. Especially if the tile, I know where that tile's at, and that, I'm surprised it's still there, to be honest with you. It's in bad shape.
Yeah, it's repaired.
Yeah.
Actually, he does more repairs on it than we do.
Yes.
So he's a very
How many
proactive.
feet, if the project went through, how many feet of that tile is gonna be replaced?
1,900 feet there, sorry, I didn't say that.
1,900,
Yeah, 1,900.
what's the diameter of the tile?
8-inch, we want to replace it with 8-inch, and he would like the smooth core to get a better, otherwise we'd probably have to go with a 10-inch. So,
That's a good tile. Smooth core is a good tile.
smooth floor, yeah.
Yeah, the
So-
coefficient of resistance is a lot lower than the,
We have $6.32 a foot in that tile. That's the tile cost. not
Tell
his-
me what's the name of that tile again?
Well,
smooth core.
Smooth core.
Tell
So
me
this-
what that is.
Okay, smooth core is actually, it's smooth on the inside, it doesn't have ridges.
Yeah.
Whereas if you have what they call ridge tile or perforated tile, the coefficient of resistance on the water flowing through until the ridges are filled up, the resistance is higher, and the time of concentration takes longer to empty that tile down at the ditch.
Okay, makes sense.
Where the smooth core, it goes right now, and it's all based on the slope of the tile.
And the smooth core, and JD can help me with this one. This is on a roll. I don't know what 8-inch has. Is there 300 foot on a roll there
Yeah.
or something?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it flows like clay tile, but it's
Yeah.
plastic and on a roll. So
Yeah.
you're not,
Yeah, you don't have to worry about it breaking down or getting elongated or,
yeah.
Anything.
yeah,
It's
it won't
good
get
stuff.
egg shaped. It's heavy duty.
And JD's father says that having the crew do that in cold weather makes
Yeah,
the
it's not
crew
fun. We did one last.
aggravated.
Pretty stiff, huh?
That was good. I'd be all for that.
yeah, I would be too.
So any other comments about this
Ron?
project?
Ron is sitting here if you want.
Okay,
the
sorry,
landowner.
Ron.
I'm not sure if you quoted the right number. I said I'd agree to cover in half of that cost. And I think
Half,
we got
okay.
the number wrong.
Okay. That's,
I'm sorry.
well, I'm sorry too. I didn't bring, we talked about these in passing and never really sat down with.
About it.
Still, half the cost picked up by the landowners,
Yes.
pretty good deal,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
So if it's
I'm just-
approximation of 12,000, then Ron's willing to contribute 6.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
if the project ends up, let's say it ends up 14,000, then Ron's willing to do 7. Is that right? Okay, with that in mind, do I hear a motion to go forward or more discussion?
I make a motion that we go ahead and accept and pay 50% of the cost of installing new legal tile.
I'll second.
Okay, Steve, second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Ron, or any other comment before we move on? You're welcome. Thanks for coming in. Wet day. Okay, Bert Smith.
It's a good day to talk drainage, yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mike, on Bert
Yeah,
Smith.
okay, I'm,
Bring it up.
pulling this up here. Let me get to this one. So this is a winter egg tile. Sorry, I'm not pulling my. My map, give me a second. And it's on 218 and 400 west. I'll get down here. Sorry, the map doesn't, I stuck that somewhere.
There you go, 300.
If you're looking for that on your sheet, it's listed under Smith Burt, not Bert Smith.
That's right.
So,
All right, thank you. Okay, come on, Mike.
See that being,
Drawing
I had 40.
a, 300, sorry, I was wrong. That's where I can't find it.
What he
Wow.
has now.
Thought I was losing my mind there. Right here. So.
That looks familiar.
This winter egg tile starts close to 218 here and then flows south and into the Bert Smith. I'm gonna blow it up here a little bit. There is a standpipe on the south side of this woods here. And there is
218, are we east or west now, or?
here's 300 west and 218. Okay, you see where my cursor is?
Yeah.
So we're right to the west of that. This gentleman he's got a house lot in there he's developing and he wants to put a house in there. He has a barn there already and stuff. He needs a septic system. They located a sand mound, a couple decent places in this woods, and one of them is where my cursor is, about by the 7 here. And I was out there last fall and I was out there this spring and he has probed all over the place through the field here, this winter egg through the field. There's tile bats everywhere there. You find it and then you can't find a tile. It's broken down. Through the woods here, I don't know where that was through the woods. We cannot locate it through the woods either. I showed this to Paul Knorr last week when he come in. And Paul looked at it and he says, well, that tile's not there. When Paul says that, you can just about take that to the bank. We can't find it. What I'm proposing is us to abandon, and I haven't gotten landowners' permission and so forth yet. I wanted your opinions. Abandon that from the head of it here to the south side of this woods, where the standpipe is that actually exists good yet down to the ditch. There was a farmstead about where my cursor is, about halfway back from 218 to the woods, that there's still remnants of it there, tile, concrete, so forth. They farm through it. This driveway was their lane. At one time, possibly that was a working tile. Doesn't seem to be now. We spent so much time out there probing and talking and walking, and going that I'm pretty convinced that it's not there. The tile bats are there yet, but there is no tile.
Clayton, what's the procedure to for the county to abandon a located tile? Is it does all landowners have to agree with, I mean, evidently, at one time, there was a located tile there.
Yeah, I would say, so it was put in, I have the original map here, book 7, page 492, so that's the early 1900s. When this map was, when the thing was put on.
So I don't-
Yes,
if-
short answer is yes, you want the landowners to agree to, because again, with you abandoning it, then it's gonna become obviously a private part of each of those landowners' property. I mean, we've done that before, there's tiles, I know early on, whenever, right after I joined the office, we abandoned some in Monroe.
Monroe at the Blue Creek, quarry down there.
Yeah,
was the
and that
last
was,
one we did.
and we had discussions with Adam Central because it ran, I believe, through some of their property and
Okay, yeah,
others,
the one in Monroe.
yeah.
But in other words, it's literally not functioning right now,
Right.
correct? So what if one of the landowners said, no, I'm not willing. I'd like to have a located tile through here, even though it's,
Then, in my opinion, it would probably take a hearing then
okay.
to do that, a
Yeah.
public hearing. We have a form that we use at the quarry, sorry, I jumped on you there, at the Blue Creek Quarry 3 years ago, where the quarry guys went around to all the landowners and got their signature on it, everybody's, and then the board abandoned it. With that,
Okay.
it was a petition that abandoned that tile. I look for to do that in this case,
Okay.
because I don't think anybody's gonna object to it that I've talked to.
Okay,
I've talked to them, nobody knows anything about it anymore. The land has changed hand a couple times. This was a winter egg, I'm told. Years ago, that was the farmstead, and it's changed hands a number of times now. The present owner is he has a auto repair shop in Bern, that rents out the land.
well, I think, what's the board thinking? At least have the initial, have Mike make the initial, contact with landowners to explain the situation and ask.
Yeah, I'm just a little concerned like where this guy goes for drainage. but
Yeah.
There's no drainage there now, I guess.
Well, are the contours, is there kind of like a waterway over the top of where that tile's at?
There's, well, through the field, there isn't. It's basically just an overland flow.
But through the woods there is?
Through the woods, there's a definite swale that he wants to lay a new tile in then and put it
And
out.
I guess I'm looking at 218 there. Is any of
Two-
their
There's,
water drains down to that point?
there's a cross pipe up here somewhere, and it's just overland flow right now,
Okay,
over that field.
okay.
no-
and
no
there's-
wash in the
there's
field or
No
anything.
private tile on the north side of 218 that's in that watershed?
I haven't found it, no, I literally have not found anything up there. This is a great waterway right to the east here. What started me down this road last year, there's another tile that runs kind of where my cursor is here. And he worked the field in the fall, ripped it, and stayed off of that because there was a bunch of tile holes in there. My first thought was that winter egg tile was over here. But that's only it's a 4 and a 6 inch tile. I think we told him that was his responsibility. That's private tile. The winter egg was never found, there's a lot of bats out there, but never found.
There's no
I don't see
gray
it.
water or black water in that area?
I won't say that for sure, because I didn't dig up any of them other tiles. The waterway has a private tile down it, and it collects a lot of water and runs down into the Bird Smith also there. I was really surprised that there is no erosion there with the amount of fall that we have on that. I might have that topo. I got the topo map here. I'll send it around to Bill once.
To JD's point, if he goes through and builds his home, did you say he wants to build it in a wooded area?
Yes,
If he goes ahead and builds a home and puts in, and it can perk the right soil, puts in a leach bed, where's he gonna drain the leach bed to?
his intention is to run back through that swale and then tie into the standpipe that's on the south side of the woods here. He has a couple places that the health department or the soil scientist has identified as working for a sand mound in there. Surprised, it really surprised me, but they got multiple places there. I don't see a downside to it. He will put a private tile in there and drain for his perimeter drain through that swale. I suggested he might bring that tile all the way up to the edge of the woods here and collect a little bit of water that sets there in that field along the edge of the woods. But that's him. So there's a lot of contour on that ground. From 218 down there, I have to look at that.
He's south. This is south of 218, right?
Yeah, south of 218, yeah,
On 300.
300 west, yeah.
Is this Amish?
No, no, he's a burn policeman. I don't have, I can put a topo on.
Well, at this point in time, I guess the question is, does the board want Mike to go out and talk to landowners to
Begin the process.
get the process of abandonment?
Yeah, I guess, yeah, I'm a bit skeptical, but if the area surrounding landowners are fine with it.
I'm kind of hoping that the landowner will do the legwork here.
Yeah.
That's where I'm gonna approach it.
Individual that wants to build a house.
Yeah, put a little,
Here.
put him a little skin in the game.
Sure.
That's the natural.
That's
Yeah,
my
natural
opinion.
flow.
Well, the question is, if he builds a house and puts the leach bed in and gets it drained, that's one thing, that's not us. The question we have in front of us is, do we want to proceed with the possibility of abandonment?
That's right.
I don't have a problem with abandoning it, as long as there's no one, even with surface water, doesn't benefit from this. I mean, that's the biggest key. I don't want something coming back saying, hey,
Agreed.
you abandoned the legal tile, now where am I supposed to go? What am I supposed to do? Even though it's not functioning,
Yeah.
there's still a legal tile there.
That's why I
Well, and
brought,
obviously the alternative to that is to repair the legal tile.
Aha, and if that's the case, then that's, that could be a reconstruction.
Or it could be privately
Or
done, but
privately
either
done.
way, it's gonna cost the people that drain in there.
That's right. But at least we have taken it under consideration. That's all I care about.
Apparently, there hasn't been much money spent out of this watershed. It's off collection. It has almost 40 grand in it.
I mean,
So it's kind of a watershed that might have been neglected.
Could be.
I
But-
haven't-
And then another thing you gotta look at is the current landowners that are giving us the green light to abandon are probably not gonna be the, the landowners change.
Yeah.
So down the pike somewhere, when he sells this, someone might be asking, why did they ever abandon this thing? I don't know.
Well, the thing with this though, if you get 100% of the landowners that benefit from this tile, that sign off and want us to abandon it, as long as we have it in our minutes, we're fine, because at the ownership at the time of the abandonment of said tile, everybody was in agreement. Now, ownership can change, then they may want to put a new legal tile in, come before the board here, and we'll see what we can do, if at that time, if that's what you want.
How many different landowners are we talking here, Mike?
I didn't even calculate the watershed here. I know I'm getting some from the north here, probably not over half a dozen, I'll bet. Cause everybody to the east here is going down that waterway. They're going down this flow here. This water on the side ditch is actually probably running farther over to here on 218. I don't take this lightly either, the abandonment. That's why I didn't proceed with anything until we had this discussion, so.
Right? Right where this is at, that's going through a hill.
Yeah.
Right there's the valley.
But there is water going down that overland flow from the highway. It's pretty
Okay.
flat. It's pretty flat there.
Okay.
cause that's actually how I found that. I walked upstream there and walked where I would put a tile in and found the dial bats. So. Yep. There's no direct flow, no concentrated flow there. It's just overland flow.
Mm-hmm.
So I have not talked to all the neighbors. I've only talked to the ones that were vocal out here, when we're working. So, and the renter would really love to see a new tile put in there.
What's that again, Mike?
The renter of the farm ground would love to see a tile put in there.
I can understand that.
Where's the emergency outfall for this pond?
That's a very good question. I assume that's overland flow through here,
Okay,
just by looking at it. I think it might even cross the driveway here somewhere and get over to where we're at, to this swale. Yeah. That swale is developed in there, right there, through that woods. So I believe all that water makes it over there.
okay.
Unless there's more private tile that I don't know about, so.
And you said that he was looking at, he got approval from the health department, a couple places for a sand dome. What's he looking at doing with that swale through the woods? Did
To
he,
keep it in place.
He'll keep
He
it
wants
in
to put a
place,
tile- he wants-
okay.
If he does it, he'll put his tile in the bottom of that. And, for the perimeter drain. So-
Next owner.
yeah,
The neighbor to the west here with the pond, that's his father and mother.
okay.
So there's no objections right now from them either, as far as I know.
Okay. I'm gonna play devil's advocate here.
Please do.
Property changes hands. We vacate that tile, vacate where that's at. And that owner decides, I don't like that open ditch in there, and I start filling stuff in. I don't like that swale running down through there. See, as being a located
So-
drain, we have some control over, hey, you can't block off somebody's drainage.
Yeah.
Because there's a state law that says I can do anything I want to my property as long as what I do doesn't cause any more damage that has been previously enjoyed by the adjoining landowners. So that allows me to put up a dam as long as that dam doesn't cause any more water damage than what he has enjoyed before.
Mhm. Oh, you're right. The swale's probably a foot and a half deep through there, maybe 2 foot some spots. I see a couple feet there's probably 2 feet of fall across here. Maybe a little bit more from the north side of the woods to the south.
I think we ought to put the driver in the seat. I think the driver in the seat of these property owners.
I agree.
And Mike, I think my idea would be, go see the property owners, explain to them what their options are, and let them make a choice. And if they make a choice of reconstruction, then we go through the two processes that they have for that. But they gotta understand they're gonna be the primarily people that contribute to make this happen. And if those people at the same time say, hey, look, we don't really want it, let's abandon it, then you can bring it back and then we as a board can decide.
I can see the best way to handle this is a meeting out there
Yep.
with the landowners.
I agree.
Stand with them,
Let's
kick the dirt.
let's move on.
do it.
If that's what the wish is, to have Mike meet with the landowners and get back.
Yep.
Okay, let's move on to the Saul.
Luganville. This is the dip and level that we brushed this last year. I know you guys have seen it. Get it up here. Oh. I love these. I have it, I put it out for bid. I requested 4 bids, as your minutes say. I got 2 back because it takes a long reach excavator to get this out. The one bid was $12,800 and the low bid was $12,674.25. These guys are bidding pretty close together.
There they are.
And that's Luganville Excavating. The landowner has brushed that over the winter, paid for brushing that. That was extreme brush. He had horses pasturing in that stream. So our agreement is we get this he took the brush off, we dip it, and then he can put his fence back up to fence the cattle and the horses out of the stream.
What's the location of this, project?
500 South is here and Salem Road is over to the west right here, and 475 East is that's a short road that runs through there. So 500 East is right to the east of us here, and 500 South. So the church is right beside it. There, Mount Hope Church, is that right? I haven't.
So, we got the bidding done.
Yeah.
Right?
Got the bid.
So, the question is, how are you planning on paying for the project?
So my purposes, where the heck did my bid sheet go? What happens when I start flipping through all this stuff? Sorry. So, the low bid was $12,674. We have in our fund $11,573. We're off collection right now. I'm proposing a share of $8,574. And, oh, sorry, yeah.
Out of the system?
Yeah, that he would pay 3,000. No, that leaves 3,000 in that system, 3,000 in the system, and he would pay the rest. He already put a lot of money in getting that brush off. of
Yeah,
there.
that's work.
Yeah.
So when would this wouldn't come back on collection? When would this come back on?
It'll come
collection?
back on in the fall or winter when we do our
But would that be in time for spring 26 bills? No, it'd be spring 27 bills,
No.
right?
Just tax, I don't think ditch tax runs a year behind. does
it would come on, yeah. it'd
Yeah,
come
It
on
would
the
come
year.
on right away.
Yeah.
It starts.
26 would be getting money.
Yeah, property tax is a year behind, but I don't think ditch tax is a year
Yeah, this is,
behind.
but we only get the funds in the fall after both payments, property taxes are made, so it'll
Oh.
probably come in next fall. Cause we'll put it back on collection when we do that hearing. And I think we do that in December, I believe.
You mentioned, I thought I heard you mention the system had 11,000, the sheet shows 12,486.
This is supposed to be money, huh?
Yeah,
Oh, sorry.
First.
No, I mixed my acres in the system up.
okay,
$12,720 in the system. I mixed my system.
12,720.
Yeah.
Okay.
Half year collection would be 1175. That's where 1,175. So, yep. So you're right. I messed up my acres.
Okay, so you're saying, how
Well-
much is the property, okay, the 12,674, you wanna take what out of the system?
I would say I want to pay, sorry, I see now what I did there. $8,574 out of it to leave $3,000 in the system.
Okay, and then the property owner would pick up the balance.
The remaining, yes.
Any discussion concerning what the plan is?
You know, he went through and got it debrushed and that, I'll make motion to go ahead and pay what, Mike suggested to pay.
Second to that?
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, let's move on to Whirling Lambert.
This is, at least we're getting easier now.
You promise?
Would I lie to you?
No, go. I got a lot of items. Amy,
Yeah.
you keeping up with all this?
So the
You got a
Whirling
line
Lambert,
down there?
I can show you that this is a joint ditch from Wells County, starts in Wells County and comes in Adams County. This is an easy one because Wells County wants to get permission to spray that ditch. And I can show you where it is if I'll pull it up here.
They want to spray the Wells County.
They want to
portion.
spray the Wells County side. So,
Are you asking us to give them permission to spray?
yes.
Any
that's it.
discussion on that?
So move.
Well, aye.
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 I told you that was a good one. Blue Creek is a variance we're requesting, or was requested. to build a barn. You have that on your sheet. I don't have it in my, I didn't even put one in here.
Okay, this Josephine Wiki wants to build a barn?
Yeah, she wants to
And
build a
Are they
barn.
not, how far away are from?
She's requesting 35 feet there. We have it signed. I'll pull that up for you in a minute.
And we can get access from the other side of the ditch.
Pardon me?
The other side of the ditch is good access.
It's tight there too. No, it's not a good place to go.
What's the number of feet that we're supposed to keep away?
75 foot is what we have as a
75 feet in
75
each
from the
side.
top toe of the slope. She's requesting 35 feet.
Yeah.
That will give us enough room to go through there.
Is it, Clayton, is this a variance? Is this a drainage board issue or is this a BZA or issue?
No, for drainage.
It's typical.
It's
Do you
drainage.
have the
board.
variance there? Show that to them, would you? So they have signed it, and it's been notarized. We do that before we bring it to you guys.
Oh, okay.
Um,
So, okay, so what's it take? What's a comfortable distance to have in the event that this ditch needs depth?
Enough room to get the excavator through and to level out the dirt
And swing.
and swing, yeah. And 35 feet, if they're sitting next to the toe of the slope, I think we've done that other places.
Okay, the other side of the ditch, in the event there's an issue on this side, is the other side a possibility? I mean, you said it's close there too. What do you got there?
500, let me get to that. So what are we north-south there? Sorry, I don't know why I didn't.
500 south
And
and
what's the address on that? Would you?
2575 south, 500 east. 2575 south, 500 east.
Sorry, it's by the cemeteries up here.
Yeah.
is that what's on the other side, cemetery?
Right here is where we're at. The opposite side is got plenty of room, but it's got trees. on it.
Okay, so you could clear that. If we had to get in there, we could get in
Yeah.
there.
She wants to put it right in here is where my cursor is. Let me go bigger. for you.
that 35 feet is from
From
the
toe of the
right,
slope,
the top of the bank back,
toe of the slope. back,
toe of the
yeah.
slope. Well, I doubt if you, that's not the toe of the slope, that's top of the
Well,
bank.
top of the bank.
Top of the bank.
Top of the bank, sorry.
Yeah.
Top of the bank.
Well, just make sure that she doesn't have a lean-to on the side of the barn that goes towards the ditch.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she's the landowner, the son is the one that come in with her, that's putting this up. But she had to sign it as the landowner.
Who's gonna check the barn when it's completed and make sure it's where it's supposed to be?
Mark Wynn and I,
Okay.
Make a motion to approve the variance.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Motion's carried.
The only other thing we got is, do you want to mention our drainage board increased stipend? I can't. Well, you guys are getting paid $25 now. It's not a,
That's
that
embarrassing,
is,
Bill.
Bill's laughing because it is a laughing matter there.
Barely buy a cup of coffee with that.
That's right. Don't do it for the money.
If the ground was dry, JD would be saying, why am I here?
That $25 a meeting or what?
Yeah.
Really? That's it? Wow.
So we're discussing increasing that up to $50 a meeting. I assume you guys wouldn't have a problem with that.
I don't have a problem with it, but I'm gonna tell as a matter of record, I don't do this for the money. I do it because I'm interested in making sure things are done right.
Guys,
Yes.
Sure, that's pretty enticing.
Well, I would say, one, you have money in the budget to make that effective?
That is a good question. I have the budget laying here and we're out of time. So
Okay, let's
look at that.
let's do it this way. Let's come back and let us know at the next drainage board meeting what you have.
And
The worst scenario would be the board make a decision, put in next year's budget. Meanwhile, Mike, it
I'll
might
see.
be good, maybe check with a couple cohorts in the area to see how they treat their board.
I can do that. Yep.
Okay,
I can do that.
So
That's a
let's
great
table
idea.
that one until next meeting.
So move we adjourn.
Second.